Okay, we're about to move to step 5, but let's take a look at where we're at this point. Right now I am nearly finished with the piece. You'll see it similar to the pattern that we had underneath it before. You'll notice now something that might look strange. We have the piece sitting on a towel. Now that's got a good reason for it, because with the raised parts of the solder on both the back and the front, it raises the glass off a hard surface. And if you press a little bit hard, we've done this, everybody in the classroom has done this at times, you press too hard quite inadvertently and you will crack a piece of glass. By putting it on a towel, you avoid that. So that's just a hint about doing that at a point where you start getting the solder on. Okay, on our piece you'll see something that you may not have realized would be there before. And that is these, they're called glass jewels. And these pieces are not, they're set on top of the already soldered piece, and they're soldered to it. They're foiled around the edge and they're soldered to it. That's to give the piece a little bit of color and also a little bit of three-dimensionality with it sitting above the rest of the glass. So now we'll move on to step 5. Now you will notice for step 5 involves several things. It involves, one thing is putting the edging or the cane around, something that is optional, but we definitely wanted to do in this case. So I will talk a little bit about the lead cane and some options to this kind of cane. And then we're going to be talking about another portion, which is putting what's called patina on the lead. Something will change the color of the lead here. And you'll be seeing that illustrated. And then finally, we'll do the final polishing and cleanup of the glass. So those are the things that we have left to talk about in step 5. Now, there are several kinds of zinc canes. It's called zinc, by the way, because it's partially made of zinc. And the zinc cane is rigid, as you see. And that can be a good thing when you have a panel like we have here and you want to make the edge look nice and neat and give it a little bit of a framing. And also it helps to keep the glass from wobbling. When you get a large, long panel like we have, that can be a problem if it starts flexing. Now there's several kinds of lead canes. One kind is what I have here, and that's called double wall. It's called double wall because if you can see it, it has a channel that slides over the glass, but then it has another wrap around it. So let's compare that double wall with a single wall. That's just a single piece of the light piece of zinc that goes around. It's a little bit flexible, as you can see, as opposed to being very rigid like the double wall. It's also a little bit thinner compared to most of the double walls. And actually there's a variety of different thicknesses depending on your needs. For example, this is a very thick double wall piece. It still has exactly the same kind of channel as the smaller ones, and you can get these in all kinds of widths. Now, sometimes all of these pieces are straight pieces, but what if you have a piece that you don't want? For example, something called a sun catcher, which doesn't have straight edges, it just flows. For example, the outline of, say, a butterfly that you had made. In that case, what you need is this lead cane. And that's a single wall also. All of the lead cane is single wall. There is no such thing. It's a double wall lead cane. But the nice thing about lead cane is that it flexes. It's very easy to wrap around glass that's got odd shapes, such as that, or something even tighter. But that's the major advantage of the lead cane. In general, the cane gives you a nice clean edge to your piece. It is an optional thing. You can do it with just your foil and tinning the foil as you've already seen, and leave it at that. All right, the next step that you have once you've selected whether you want cane or not, if you want a zinc cane such as I'm using here for this piece, you want to deal with the corners. If you have straight sides in a corner, how do you put those things together? And you'll see what I've done here is I've made a junction, a 45-degree angle, a very nice looking junction like this, pretty good close fit. And there's another one down here, and of course there's two more on the other end. And I have held the zinc together by soldering these joints on the back side, but I want to show you about the soldering on this side. Before I do that, however, question is, how do you get a nice straight line, a nice 45-degree line? If you try to do that by eye, you will never work very well. What we have down in the glass room here is this piece here. And this is a little device. It's just made out of wood, and it has a perfect 45-degree angle. And it adjusts to hold all kinds of widths of zinc cane. You can loosen it up. You get it to the right position where you want. You notice we have a 45 cut already made on this end, so maybe we want to make another one here. So we will adjust that, and I won't actually make this cut, but I'll show you how it would work. But this can hold us all carefully in a 45, and I would just go ahead and make my cut. All right, and just as when we soldered the foil that we had to use flux, and we have to use that same flux again when we're going to solder these corners in place. And we just put a little flux on that corner and up a little ways. My soldering iron is nice and hot. And I'm just simply going to kind of touch and hold. And I can fix that up a little bit more, I think. There we go. And that is all that's needed to hold this in place. Now, our next section of step 5 is to talk about patinaing. And what I should mention right away is the idea of patinaing is that this solder will do a natural kind of patinaing. And you can tell that if you look, say for example, this point here, all along in here, and another one over here, and a little bit up in here. Those are quite shiny. But if you look, compare those to this section right here, or this section over here, for example, these are far less shiny. Now, why is that? It's because I just touched up some of the soldering just about an hour ago, and these other sections that are less dull, you don't see the shininess, those have been sitting for a couple of days, and they start to get a natural patina or change in the color that occurs, and that will progress and progress if you don't do any shining or polishing of this thing till a kind of a neutral gray color. You actually saw what that's like on this piece of lead cane. You see that they'll start to, these solder lines will look about that same color as this right here. That's the natural patina. Yep. So if you don't want that natural patina to occur, you can choose to put on a chemical substance that will change the color, and there's two choices for that. One is to use the black patina. We're going to be using that for this piece. But an alternative, if someone chose to do it, would be to use a copper patina, which kind of looks not so much like a bright copper, but more of a bronze kind of a look. And those two patina colors are the possibility, as well as the natural patina. But what about the zinc edging? You can put some patina on the edge itself. I'm not going to be doing that in this case. I'm going to leave that because the zinc doesn't really have a natural patina particularly that changes. It will change some over time, but for the most part, it doesn't do that, what happens to the lead. If you want to try it, you can use the patina for the zincs, which this is. It, in my experience, doesn't work very well, so I have tried all kinds of things to get a very black color to match the black patina I'm putting on the lead, but it really hasn't been too successful in my experience. All right, one of the things we want to do is to get rid of any of the patina that's natural patina that's on it before we put our black patina on. And the best way to do that is to use fine steel wool such as this, and then you simply, firmly but not hard, you just simply, and you'll see what happens now, how bright and shiny that is. And we do it to all of the solder lines where we're going to be putting on patina. Well, these solder lines, nice and shiny is what you want to see there as you put on the patina. All right. Okay, now we're ready to actually put on the patina. All right. Here is the patina in a little container. You'll see it's a kind of a blue. That helps keep you from mixing it up with flux. These are quite different things. And I simply use a Q-tip, dip it in the patina, and rub it on. It couldn't be easier. And you'll see immediately it turns to this black color. So it's quite, the patina part is the quickest part of the whole process. Just takes no time whatsoever. And you'll see it's turning a very dark black, very opaque black. Do it right to the edge of your, and make sure you're not leaving any part, I see like right there, where I didn't quite get enough on. So you want to make sure you've got that. All right, and you notice around our jewel here, that part also turns nice and black. And what a black patina does, and particularly now what you see, is all of the pieces of the glass really stand out now. And that's the effect of the black patina. If you want something more subtle, you may not want to do that. But in this case, we want to focus on these different kinds of glass and colors of glass that we have in here. So the black patina will help the person viewing it see those differences. Okay, our next and final step on section of step 5 is to put some polish on this. You'll notice if you look at the patina, once it dries, it starts to get a kind of a dull black look. And it would be nice if we could get this to be a nice shiny black look. Now, because it takes a while for our polish to dry, I'm only going to do a small section to show you, illustrate how this works. But I think you'll get the idea, and by doing a small section, you'll be able to compare what happens with the polish and without the polish. So once I've shaken this up well, I pour a little bit. I just use a paper towel, fold it a couple of times, and for our current purposes, I'm just going to put a very small amount on so that way to illustrate how this works. There's many kinds of polish, by the way, many brands and so on. The Libya that we use, I think works pretty well, and we're happy with that. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to polish this line right here. And usually I would pour, maybe even pour some of this right on the piece, spread it around, and then let it. But I'm trying to avoid having a long wait for our purposes of our video here. But I think you're going to be very quickly seeing what the effect is. You'll notice now we're black, but we're reflecting light off the black. And so we've got a shiny black here, and where we haven't polished yet, over here and on the sides, you'll see it's a dull black. So the purpose of the polish then is to just create a little bit of sheen. It isn't a real bright shiny, but it's just a little bit of sheen to it instead of the dull black that you see here. And that's the final step. We just take and we leave it on there to dry up, and then we give it a dry part of the cloth, give it another final polish, and you see that's how it's going to look. And you just imagine the whole piece done that way, and you'll have it. So we have now completed our video, taken you through the 5 steps, beginning with finding a design, then choosing your glass, cutting your glass, foiling your glass, soldering the pieces together, and then putting the framing around if you choose to do that, and the final patina and polish. With that, you can use these kind of things. We're putting these both in DVD form that will be in the art room and in YouTube, so you can watch it on your phone or from your computer at your pleasure. You can repeat parts of it. The idea here is to, at very least, familiarize yourself with what would be involved to doing this and taking a class. It is not intended to be, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is not intended to be a substitute for a class, because there's lots of details that would be probably difficult to try to do from just this video. You can give it a try if you like, but we would certainly welcome you to the classes that we offer down in the stained glass room, and to use our facility however you like. We would love to do that. So that will finish our piece, and I want to do one final thing, which is simply to show you how the finished piece of glass looks in its location where it's actually going. It's up above a doorway in the transom, and I hope you enjoy what it looks like.